Hello and welcome to the Superhero Show. I am Chris, and that is Dan, who's allowed me to host, or at least kick off the show this week. I feel honoured. What's changed?
Just can't be bothered.
Is it because... Brilliant. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you same time next week. No, let's talk about supervillains.
Yeah.
So a while back we did our favourite superhero performances, the heroes that made us happy: Christopher Reeve, Robert Downey Jr., Hugh Jackman.
Well, I wasn't on this one, but yeah.
It was a really good show. It was an A show. I forgot you went on it.
In spite of.
So this week we thought we'd talk about the dark side. Who are the best villain performances in all of superhero moviedom?
Yep.
And I believe... I'll kind of just start by saying I think you've got the best ones. We picked kind of 6, and I think you've got the best ones.
You can pick any ones you want. They're all up for grabs.
All right, well, let's see.
So,
let's kick off, because we've both got the same characters to begin with.
And we're not going to be cute. We're gonna open with the obvious one.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Shall we have a look at his work?
I thought my jokes were bad.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't have my boy here pull your head off.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone. Oh, and by the way, the suit, it wasn't cheap. You ought to know, you bought it.
Shit. I want to hear proposition.
Let's wind the clocks back a year. These cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. I mean, what happened? Did your balls drop off?
How much you want?
Half. You're crazy. I'm not. No, I'm not.
Did not know we were going to show that clip. Do we need to age-gate the show this week?
Why? Kids use pencils.
Okay, fine.
Not in that way. It's fine.
Well, that's an intense way to start the show.
Going in with a bang. So that is actually one of the first scenes that you see him in full kind of Joker clothing, makeup and so on, because he's there in the bank scene at the beginning, but it's not really full on Joker. And I just think that really establishes everything you need to know about him. Obviously, people know when he was cast, there were some naysayers. He went on to win posthumously the Academy Award for that performance. That's the journey that he went on, from people like decrying him, saying, why is this pretty boy playing the Joker? And I think he pretty much unanimously, everyone agrees that he nailed it. I think he brought a sense of dark mischief to the role. I think the way the makeup, obviously people gave that look to him from the art direction, but the kind of mangled mouth, the cuts, he has a danger to him, the kind of green kind of mouldy haircut, and just what he brought, this sense of a man without history. The explanation for the scars changes every single time, that he finds menace in mystery, and he's just like genuinely threatening and dangerous. And
he's genuinely frightening, yeah. I remember talking to my dad. He caught some of this film, and he was like, he couldn't watch it. It was upsetting him so much, that character.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying my dad's a wimp.
Yeah.
And I know what he means, especially if he was going into it not kind of knowing any of the background of the actor or anything. There is something really scary underneath the surface. Like, I think of the great horror performances, and it's one of those. It's not.
Yeah, and obviously the character based, kind of almost full circle based on kind of a horror character, the man who laughs. The kind of look going full circle. There is something just really, I think, scummy and sharp about him.
Yeah.
Like, something very like guttural and threatening. Like, he'll just rip your face off.
Yeah.
Like, there's no great plan or scheme to it as well. It's just literally about all and out chaos. And also, I think in more so than maybe other portrayals, we don't know what Jared Leto's going to do with the role, but he really creates this like sick affinity with Batman, where it's almost like he's his counterpart and also his love interest, and I find that really twisted and brilliant.
Well, we don't know what Jared Leto's going to do with the character, but we do know what Jack Nicholson did with the character. Shall we take a look?
Mm-hmm. Who the hell are you? It's me, Sugar Bumps. Oh, thank God you're alive. I heard you. Fried? Is that what you heard? You set me up over a woman. A woman! Must be insane. Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
So, who was doing the most acting there? Jack Palance, one of the great overactors in cinema history, and Jack Nicholson going way off.
There's a lot of acting going on in that.
Yeah, I just put that one in because it felt like it changed everything. That summer of '89, that performance, it was such a big deal. I mean, the amount of money he got paid, the fact that a star of his stature was in a superhero movie, the fact that the superhero movie was dark and good, but that was who everyone was talking about when they came out of the movie, was Jack Nicholson. To the point that, like, you know, at the time everyone was like, well, that'll never be bettered. You know, the villains in Batman Returns and that were good, but everyone was kind of like, oh, they couldn't compete with Jack Nicholson. At the time, we thought no one could. So I've picked the second best Joker performance. But it's a different performance. I mean, equally, I don't know how much acting Jack Nicholson is doing there. He's a very mischievous guy in real life. There's a great interview with him on YouTube where he talks about the fact that he often gets told off that's nothing. He deems nothing out of order when it comes to getting a laugh. He will say the sickest thing in real life, and so he was just channeling that. He was being paid to do it on screen.
Wow. So interestingly, we've both picked the Joker. Is there something, do you think, innate to that role that gives that? It is like one of the great villains. So maybe something in that it's the great villain role.
Yeah, I mean, we have done a whole show
just about the best Jokers.
Yeah, because it is. I think every generation will have their Joker from here on in. He is the best villain, I think, in all of comics. Is that
pretty well? Well, maybe it's a small shout for my next one. I think this guy has a pretty good shout for being one of the greatest heroes in comics, but also one of the greatest villains. Let's check out.
The treatment for my spine affects my DNA.
You sacrificed your powers so you could walk.
What do you know about it?
I've lost my fair share.
Huh. Dry your eyes, Eric. Doesn't justify what you've done.
You've no idea what I've done.
I know that you took the things that mean the most to me.
Well, maybe you should have fought harder for them.
If you want to fight, Eric, I will give you a fight!
Let him come.
You abandoned me! You took her away and you abandoned me!
Angel. Azazel. Emma. Banshee.
We were supposed to protect them! Eric, where were you, Charles?
You abandoned us all.
So we've gone from a villain that you can't possibly empathise with to one that you really can.
More so than any, and I think what they've done with him in the X-Men films has been brilliant. And in terms of individual performances, obviously the character was first brought to screen with Sarah McKellen, and I think obviously in the later period of his life, a lot of the battles had kind of been fought and lost at that point, and he brought a kind of stoicism to the role and also kind of gravitas. Syrian McKellen, for crying out loud. But Magneto, as portrayed by Michael Fassbender, I think brought back some of the more kind of raw ideology of the character that was key at that time. So we see him as a young boy, seeing his mother killed in front of his face by Shaw, and then in First Class there's loads of great scenes in that movie, but there's one where he goes and tracks down the Nazis, and he refers to himself as Frankenstein's monsters, and he brutally kills these guys, and he's justified, but these are people that killed his mother, and he brutally kills them in a bar scene. There's a scene that he has with Charles where you see him lighting a menorah as a child, and he shares that memory with Charles. It's really touching, like he cries and you feel for this guy, and at the end of that movie he kills Shaw. He says, "I'd like to forgive you, but you killed my mother," and he kills him, and you just I completely sympathise, and I see your perspective on a lot of these issues, even though I disagree with you. So this is utterly compelling villain, and I think Fassbender is fantastic, particularly in that scene when he says, "You abandoned me, you abandoned us all." I think he brings such an intensity to that character.
Yeah, it's very noticeable that First Class is a much better movie whenever he's on screen.
Yeah.
to the point that I would have preferred the film, and I think I've said this before on this show, if it had been that first half hour stretched out to 2 hours of the Nazi
It was
stuff.
like the Magneto film that we never really got. If it was literally kind of him going around the world hunting these people down.
And he brings a cool to the character.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch on screen.
Well, you know, if he's going to be this great leader, he needs that kind of charisma to him. If you're going to recruit people, if you're going to take people away from other people to come join your cause, Mystique knew Charles since she was a small child. And he's like, you took her away from me and you abandoned me. It's because he has that kind of charisma where people want to become his acolytes. He is this kind of messianic figure for a whole bunch of disaffected kids. And that's Michael Fassbender.
Well, you're talking about who you think might be the most sympathetic of all villains. What about this fella?
Dr. Octavius. We have to shut it down. Please tell me how.
Peter Parker. Brilliant but lazy.
Look at what's happening. We must destroy it.
I can't destroy it. I won't.
You once spoke to me about intelligence. That it was a gift to be used for the good of mankind.
A privilege.
These things have turned you into something you're not. Don't listen to them.
It was my dream.
Sometimes, to do what's right, we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams.
You're right. Listen to me now. Listen to me now.
Now, tell me how to stop it.
Drown it. I'll do it.
That is, of course, Alfred Molina playing Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2,
Yeah.
one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and one of the great performances, I think. But my one question, Mark, over this is, does he make him too sympathetic? Is Doc Ock too likeable a character in this movie? He does some horrible things, but all the time I'm really feeling for him, which is a testament to Molina's acting, but I wonder if he shouldn't be more villainous.
The movie sets him up really well because he has his wife who dies, and you really feel for him. Is he menacing enough? There are scenes. It's almost like his brain gets fried as well,
sure.
and he has these moments of lucidity, like right at the end. He has this moment where he recognises Peter Parker. He goes, "Oh, Peter Parker, quite brilliant." So he has this moment. So he kind of goes slightly mad, but there's something definitely Shakespearean and tragic about him.
But a criticism aimed at some of the MCU movies is that the villains just aren't good enough. And it's interesting that even when we were doing our long list, we hardly picked any.
Actually, we should talk about
we'll come to some. But the reason that Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie is because the villain works so well, I think.
And it really furthers kind of what's happening with Peter and his life as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really well when the villain and the hero kind of meet in real life as well, and it kind of all ties together rather than like we just need a threat and then you just throw in anything. Like we did talk about a lot of the villains in the MCU, like you said, and there's a lot of ones that are really forgettable. Like I'm not great, like Mickey Rourke's character in Iron Man 2, Whiplash,
Jeff Bridges' character,
Ironmonger.
The worst, I think, is Christopher Eccleston's in Thor: The Dark
Malachi.
World. See, I couldn't even remember his name.
I feel like Once Upon a Time maybe that was a better role. He's a great actor, and he could have been like, you think Christopher Eccleston? He's a good guy to get as your villain.
It's making me really pull for James Spader as Ultron this summer because that's a really cool actor with a cool role. So.
Yeah, and like there's little teasers in the trailer that feels like it could be a huge role. Like, is a villain that's in the title of the movie.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's going to pull through. So yeah, the MCU does not have a lot of strong villains, but it has one at least already, and I think he's quite a goodie. Here's Loki.
I won't touch Barton, not until I make him kill you. Slowly, intimately, in every way he knows you fear. and then he'll wake just long enough to see his good work. And when he screams, I'll split his skull. This is my bargain, you mewling quim.
You're a monster.
So there you go.
Short but sweet.
Yeah.
Why do you like Loki?
I was thinking about this actually in terms of like crude character arithmetic. Joker plus Magneto equals Loki a little bit because Loki is the great kind of trickster and kind of mischief maker. Obviously, that's what the character mythology is all about. In the Marvel universe, this agent of chaos who wants to upset the kind of established order and just have fun as well, like trick people and mess with people, but also further his own ego. So a little bit Joker-like, but unlike Joker, who is a man without kind of an origin, a fixed origin, he is sympathetic. Like recently I rewatched the original Thor movie, and even though he's an alien, he's a frost giant, he's riddled with human petty emotions. The fact that he feels like he stands in Thor's shadow. And there's a scene with Anthony Hopkins, Odin, where he finds out the secret of his nativity, that he actually is a little baby frost giant, and Odin rescued him. He's like, and he says to him, "Why did you take me? I can't believe you just took me because you wanted to look after me." And he goes, "Well, one day I thought we could broker a peace treaty." So it's a really cunning political gesture, not an act of love. And he just goes, there's a look on his face. It's an amazing acting. He's also a fantastic actor, Tom Hiddleston. He just looks at him, it just crushes him that that's his entire life was a lie. And I feel that's really powered and fueled him throughout the movies. But also he's quite he's quite petty and ridiculous, and he can make himself look a bit of a fool because he is sort of pompous at times. So I think he's also a really likeable villain and charismatic as well.
But as the films progress as well, he's just having such fun in the role as well. That's someone really enjoying playing a character and it bleeding through the screen so that we as an audience enjoy him enjoying it.
He loves it. Like when he came on stage at Comic-Con as Loki and he just told everyone to say his name. Yeah. It's brilliant. That's what you want. I think he really loves that role. And I really hope we get him back sometime soon. Ragnarok maybe the next time.
But maybe my only criticism, there's just nothing scary about him. I don't think in any of the movies he's been in.
True, he's not a intimidating villain,
and that's maybe through no fault of his own. You know, that's the films that he's in. I'm sure he could do frightening, but I don't know. I'm gonna go on to a villain now that is equally unscary, but one I really really enjoy watching. It's a bit out of left field. Take a look at Ming.
Down your weapons! No one, but no one, dies in the palace without a command from the Emperor.
Hail, Ming!
Hail, Ming.
Well,
see, he doesn't say a lot in that scene.
That was terrifying.
But I think you can tell from the looks on their faces what a frightening, terrifying character this is. Now, that's obviously Max von Sydow playing Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon, which is one of my favourite comic book movies, because for me it really feels like a comic book brought to life. You know, the colours, the campiness before, Frank Miller turned everything serious. There's real fun to be had watching that film, and he revels in that role. Max von Sydow does. He eats up the screen. There's kind of a smile on his face all the way through when he's crushing planets and killing entire races of people. He's really enjoying it, and I like watching that.
I like watching people get a kick out of genocide.
Well, it gets worse. I mean, there's a really weird incestuous undercurrent as well in the movie. Him and his daughter.
You're into some weird stuff, Chris.
He just feels like evil personified, but the evil that it's kind of fun to watch on screen from a distance. And he's a great actor. He was Death in the Seventh Seal, and we're going to see him maybe playing a villain, we don't know, in upcoming Star Wars. So I think it's good to take the opportunity here now to remember Max von Sydow and what a great presence he was in that movie.
Yeah. So those are our 6 greatest villain performances in superhero movies of all time for this week anyway.
Sorry, Terence Stamp, but I just didn't like you. I don't like you.
Sorry, Uma Thurman.
Yeah, Dan wanted Uma Thurman. That were never happening.
Yeah. But obviously, you probably have your own thoughts on the greatest superhero villain of all time.
Tell us off. Tell us where we went wrong.
Yeah. Who gave a really great performance? Are there any ones you're particularly looking forward to? We're going to get Doctor Doom soon. Hopefully, they'll name Doctor Doom. What a great villain he is. So email us at any time. What's the address, Chris?
Superheroshow@ign.com.
Yeah.
And a lot of you already have been emailing us. We spoke about Wolverine a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And we've had lots of emails about Wolverine potentially joining the MCU. The first comes from Chris Matthews, who says, do you think it shows how relatively disappointing the other characters in the X-Men universe are when it's only Wolverine talked about joining the MCU? This has been the same in the comics. Everything revolves around Wolverine for many years, and it's a shame that the same thing happened in the movies. Days of Future Past was a great film, but would it have done so well without Wolverine? First Class I enjoyed, but you knew it was always missing Logan. I think Fox will really struggle when Hugh Jackman hangs up the claws.
I think it's also because so much of the X-Men franchise, apart from Wolverine, is in flux. He's like the one constant, all of it. And especially when you start hopping through time periods, he's the one person who can be constant because he ages at a slower rate.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important if you're going to do time travel movies to have a constant, to have your Martin McFly. The world changes around them, but you latch onto that one character and they pull you through the movie.
And we have just done 5 minutes on how great and important Magneto is. And I think it pops up in one of these emails. But I agree, though. It is, I mean, they've nailed that character so well that I think the other characters suffer a little bit when they're in his presence.
Be interesting to see when we get, because we talked about it for years, like the Magneto spin-off movie. Never really happened. Now we know we're getting a Gambit movie. We know we're getting a Deadpool movie. Deadpool at least is on course for coming out next year. So it'd be interesting to see when these other X-Men characters, X-Men universe characters, have their own movies, what happens to them then. Tyler Sweeney writes in, I've been thinking more and more about Wolverine in the Avengers and how cool that might be. One thing that keeps running through my mind is not even Loki or Thanos in the movies is as scary or as dynamic as Magneto. I feel like if you really incorporate Wolverine, bringing Magneto along for the ride will make one hell of a movie. But then it's like, I agree, but then I guess you get to the point where it's like, where does it stop? And then ultimately, you just want the Marvel Universe to all be on tap in the MCU, which is like...
That's what we're building towards. In 55 years' time, it's going to be the ultimate team-up movie with everyone.
Yeah, and everyone's like, by then, everyone's just back into Western and musicals again.
But that's what we're saying. I mean, he's a great character. Olivia Hunter's written in from Yorkshire, your neck of the woods, Daniel. And she says, last week on the show, you talked about what bringing Wolverine to the MCU would mean for the Avengers. I thought about this and came to the conclusion that Wolverine, as you said, would fit perfectly with the dysfunctionality of the Avengers lineup. A head-on clash between Logan and Stark is inevitable, and both, with their charisma and attitude, would fit perfectly on screen. I also feel that Black Widow and Logan would match perfectly within the film, and this would allow for a different and contrasting approach with Jackman and Johansson. And we agree.
Absolutely.
We decided this is happening and it's not happening.
I think she's right. Like the character dynamics do work quite naturally.
Yeah.
I think you find a home with those characters, particularly on the kind of Black Widow end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Tiny Robinson. I don't think this guy can spell his own name, so... Carl Urban would make an awesome M-rated Wolverine. In Dredd, he showed his ability to play a merciless, violent, and uncompromising hero/anti-hero. I think Annie has the voice down. Because you asked for casting suggestions last week.
We did, yeah.
On the spot, and we came up with, like, Dougray Scott in Old Man Logan. But actually...
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, I really put much thought into them. Carl Urban seems like a great...
He'd be great, but come on, don't we just want to see him do Dredd again? Tough, man. Okay, I have an email from Shahinor Rahman, who says, I believe Jackman would be able to play Wolverine if there ever was an Avengers X-Men crossover film. What was said about an alternate universe should be used as part of a potential film. Neither franchise has to edit their history. Marvel and Fox should make it as if both timelines have been going on at the same time, just in different universes. Something happens that results with a gap in both of their respective universes, which leads to the two worlds coming together. We end up with an Avengers vs. X-Men film that takes billions, and then the two can go back to their own worlds, and Fox Marvel can carry on making films without having to take the other's continuity into consideration. Problem solved. This can also lead to new crossovers, or they can just carry on going about their own business. The decision would leave fans happy and the two studios with a ton of money.
Who's this? Ingenious. Also, I like the idea of a multiverse, like as a way of getting around studio politics and rights issues. It's a very comic book concept.
Yeah. We have had a lot of theories coming in this week, crazy theories. I think we've got some more coming up. I like them though.
What's happening this summer in the comics?
Will people buy that? I don't know, but it's a good way of making it happen.
It's what's happening in the Marvel Comics universe this summer with Secret Wars. It's what's happening in the DC Comics universe with Convergence. This idea of multiple realities smashing together and you getting kind of a reconfigured world.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see whether studios could just see the bigger picture. And if money is a thing, then usually I think that's a good motivation for studios.
Money's definitely a thing.
Adam Divert says, I watched your guys' show on Wolverine joining the Avengers. I thought the perfect time to let any X-Men join the MCU would be at the end of Avengers Infinity War Part 1. Because at the end of that, they could have the Scarlet Witch lose control of her powers from the threat of Thanos and create more heroes, which they could call mutants, and they could help to bring down Thanos. And he wants Tom Hardy in the role of Wolverine. So again, speculation on how you can bring them in. But I think that's going to be rendered quite tricky, because I think the way that Marvel are getting... I don't think they think they're getting X-Men back anytime soon.
No.
So they're kind of using Inhumans as their kind of way of introducing more kind of mutant-esque characters.
Yeah, they're mutants.
Yeah.
Well, Zachary Fitzgerald also has an idea for how this could happen. Hey guys, even though I don't see it happening, I would love for Wolverine to be in the MCU for even one Avengers movie. I think if they ever did want it to happen, they could easily make it happen by simply having him brought to another universe, the MCU, by maybe Kitty Pryde's power, or a portal or machine that was built, and give him a mission he is supposed to do, or have him try to get back to his own universe, which helps the Avengers stop some big evil. I think it would be fantastic seeing him with the Avengers. Everyone's agreeing. This needs to happen.
Kirk Lutz says, it's quite simple. Doctor Strange uses dimensional travelling abilities to bring Wolverine to the MCU.
That's it. That's our final email. Doctor Strange can just make it
happen.
It's
true though. You've got enough characters that have enough powers to contrive this to come about if you wanted it to.
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's more the stuff around it outside of the movies that makes it trickier.
Yeah.
Look at Spider-Man. If something can come to an agreement, it can happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
And if it does, you heard it here first.
On the Superhero Show.
If one of these theories is correct, we're taking credit.
We're taking all of them. That's it. Write them down. You heard it here first. So email us anytime at superheroShow@ign.com. And until next week, for everything on Marvel, DC, and all the rest, stay right here on IGN.